Ah, silence. What a beautifully brutal weapon. So simple, so quiet, and yet so undeniably powerful. It doesn't require chaos confrontation or explanation. It doesn't scream, shout, or beg for attention. It just exists, piercing, deafening, unrelenting. In a world that thrives on noise and validation, silence becomes the most unforgiving response. And when wielded by someone who's been broken, ignored, and disrespected, it becomes the loudest roar ever heard. This silence isn't passive, it's deliberate. It's the kind of silence that walks away without slamming doors. The kind that doesn't offer closure, doesn't deliver a final blow, and doesn't need to. It just leaves and takes all the emotional energy with it. For those who thrived on conflict, who fed off your reactions, who relied on your attention, this kind of silence is agony. It's the void where their control used to be. They never expected it. They thought the cycle would continue, that you'd always respond, always fight, always cry, always try to explain. But the moment you stopped playing the game, the rules shattered. The moment you took your presence, your attention, your words, and replaced it with cold, piercing silence, you shattered the illusion they built around their power. Because they weren't in control, you were. And now, they're left in confusion, replaying every moment, every slight, every insult, wondering what went wrong. The truth is, they underestimated you. They mistook your patience for weakness, your kindness for naivety, and your love for dependency. They believed you'd never leave, that you'd always bend but never break. But they didn't realize you were quietly building an exit every time they hurt you. Every lie, every manipulation, every ounce of disrespect was a brick in the wall that now separates you from them. You walked away, not in anger, but in clarity. And that's what scares them most. Now, all that remains is the echo, not of your voice, but of their own actions. And that echo haunts them. Regret, that quiet little whisper, has turned into a screaming monster that won't let them sleep. Maybe I went too far, it says. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. But there's no going back. The door is shut, and the key was in your hands all along. That's what justice looks like when it doesn't come from revenge, but from detachment. Your silence isn't just an absence. It's a statement that says, I deserved more. A message that says, I'm done playing savior to someone who enjoyed being the villain. Silence becomes the final punctuation to a chapter that no longer deserves your energy. It becomes both your armor and your sword. It protects your peace while slicing through the illusions they created. And as it cuts through their denial, what bleeds out is accountability. They were confident, weren't they? So confident that they could treat you like a revolving door, hurt you, then welcome you back. But what they didn't know is that your love has limits, your patience has boundaries, and your silence, it's the final verdict in a trial they never thought they'd lose. Because for the first time, you chose yourself, and they can't handle that kind of betrayal. The betrayal of you finally putting yourself first. Silence is poetic, isn't it? Especially when the person who once brought light is now the very absence that darkens their world. They took your warmth for granted. They assumed it was theirs by default. But now that it's gone, they're shivering in the cold, trying to figure out why the sun stopped shining. The irony. They pulled the switch themselves. Silence, as Carl Jung would imply, forces people to confront their shadows. It drags the unconscious into the conscious. Without the distractions of noise, They're left to sit in their own emptiness. The same emptiness they created when they dismissed your worth. But now, without your energy to distract them, they're face to face with the ugliness they refuse to see. And that's when true regret begins. This silence is not just their punishment. It's your liberation. It's freedom from the cycle, the chaos, the gaslighting, the blame. It's your healing space. It's the air you now breathe freely. Because you realized it's not your responsibility to mend what someone else broke. You don't owe them peace for the war they started. Let them replay it. Let them wonder what they could have done differently. Let them ache over the loss of someone who was willing to give them the world, until they proved they didn't deserve it. That ache, that's not your problem anymore. That's their ghost. A ghost they'll see in every person who isn't you. In every relationship that lacks your authenticity. In every moment they feel hollow. They'll try to justify it. I didn't mean it. I didn't know. But deep down they did. They knew exactly what they were doing. They just never thought you'd call their bluff. And when you did, not with anger, but with indifference, that's when they realized it was over. Not because you shouted it, but because you didn't need to. And now, they hear your silence everywhere. In the quiet moments, in the spaces where your laughter used to echo, in the stillness of night. It haunts them. Not because you're gone, but because they know you're not coming back. And that stillness, that final, brutal quiet, is louder than any scream you could have unleashed. But this story isn't about them anymore. It's about you, your journey, your future, your peace. While they're busy staring at a locked door, you're walking into rooms filled with light, growth, and love. The kind you now know how to give to yourself. That's what real revenge looks like. Not revenge born of bitterness, but of rebirth. They lost someone who was irreplaceable. And that's a pain that never fades. Your silence has become your legacy. It says, I've evolved. It says, you no longer have access to me. It says, I matter too. That silence, your masterpiece, is filled with truth, clarity, and strength. And it will echo louder in their minds than any words ever could. Because in the end, they always knew. They always felt the moments when they crossed the line. They just didn't believe you'd actually walk away. And that disbelief, that arrogant assumption, is what haunts them now. They gambled with something rare, and they lost. That is the cost of treating love like it's disposable. Their confusion now is almost comical. How dare you leave, they wonder, when you were supposed to stay broken. But that's the thing. You were never broken. You were simply patient, until you weren't. They mistook your compassion for dependence, and your silence for defeat. But your silence was never weakness. It was the calm before your eyes. Let's not pity them. Let's not linger on their downfall. Because this isn't about watching them suffer. It's about acknowledging your strength. Every moment they spend longing for you is a moment you spend living in freedom. And the best part, you don't have to lift a finger. Your absence does all the work. Your silence is justice served, cold, clean, and complete. They'll search for replacements, desperately. But none will carry the depth, the forgiveness, the patience that you gave. And even if they find someone new, they'll never find you. What they destroyed was once, in a lifetime, and they know it. That realization will haunt them more than any memory. They won't forgive you. Not because you wronged them, but because you stopped letting them wrong you. that shift in power, that decision to prioritize yourself. That's the betrayal they can't get past. You started caring about you. And that's the one thing they'll never be able to accept, because it exposes the truth they refused to face. They were never worthy of your loyalty. Silence, in the end, is more than just a lack of sound. It's a mirror, a boundary, a revolution. For them, it's torment. For you, it's transformation. And every day they think of you, every time they feel the ache of your absence, that's not pain you delivered. That's pain they earned. That's the beauty of silence. And that is your ultimate victory.